24 hours after hanging 61 on the Bobcats, LeBron and the Heat head to Houston. The Rockets, one of two teams Miami hasn't faced yet this season, Memphis the other. And the Rockets, the only team with a better record than the Heat since the first of the year. Houston 19-6, Miami 19-7. The game features 5 All-Stars and the 2 coaches of the month for February, Erik Spoelstra and Kevin McHale. So we set the table for this meeting on Tuesday night, Fan Night, presented by Sprint. The Houston Rockets 9-2 since the 1st of February, and you see they've improved by 9 games over last year at this point. Miami, meantime, best shooting team in the NBA, coming off, of course, the LeBron James 61-point effort against the Bobcats. And we are joined by the Eastern Conference Coach of the Month. He had a floor seat for that LeBron James show at the AAA last night, Erik Spoelstra. Coach, thanks a lot for taking a few minutes.
Thanks, guys.
Hey, I'm assuming that in a 19-point game, if LeBron's got 30, that he's sitting there, and if you need him, you'll call on him in the fourth quarter. What were you thinking when he had 49, you're up 19? How much were you going to play him in the fourth quarter?
It definitely went through my thought. I mean, a normal rotation is to take him out, but he was in such a great rhythm. I wasn't even looking at how many points he had. I just actually told him, I said, all right, 2 more minutes and I'll get into the rotation. Since we didn't have Dwayne, CB was on the bench. I didn't want to play without any starters going into the fourth. It wasn't like it was a 30-point lead. 19 could change, to 11 in 2 or 3 minutes. So I kept him in there, and he kept on scoring. And I really didn't have any idea how many points he had until at some point one of my assistants said that he's a point away from his career high and the Miami Heat franchise high. And so I brought him over, and I said, look, dude, this is making me uncomfortable. I would like to get you out. Here's what you got. Go get this quickly, and then I'll get you out of the game. He said, he looked up, and he said, okay, I got you, coach. And then he scored a bucket. Now that puts him to 57. So, of course, there's always going to be another one. And it was just natural then at that point he wanted to go for 60. We designed a couple 3-point plays for him at that point, and we botched them, and he took a couple or one long 3 that he missed. And so we came back to the timeout, and I said, all right, well, you don't have to shoot a 3. You could probably just make 2 baskets, and we can get you out of the game.
Well, what's cool about hearing that is you can still see how much of a fan of the game you are, Spo, and I think that's awesome. But probably what you didn't enjoy was watching what Al Jefferson did to you individually from a defensive standpoint. Now, 2-part question. One, it seemed to me it was somewhat by design that you guys just decided we're going to play him straight up. And not allow other guys to get into a rhythm by breaking down our defense. And secondly, how does that now translate to tonight going up against Dwight Howard, another guy who is also capable of carrying a team offensively?
Well, Craig, I'll make it a 3-part question. And just talking about last night, I mean, you can't be too cynical in this league, and there are special nights, particularly in the regular season. You have to be able to sit back and allow those moments to happen. I mean, there was probably a 4-minute stretch where literally not only myself, but the rest of the staff and the rest of the players on the bench were just sitting back and watching LeBron go on that run. It's the beginning of March, and it makes life a lot less ordinary, in the league. And it was a spectacular night that not only he was able to enjoy, the teammates were able to enjoy, but our fans. Answering your second question about Al Jefferson, yeah, he torched us. And that's typically how we defend. We just didn't do it with a great commitment. As great as of an offensive night that was, grading out our defense, it was one of our poorer efforts and activity grade numbers for the year. I think it was our 3rd lowest, in fact. And Al Jefferson was terrific, not taking anything away from him, but he was able to catch it wherever he wanted to. He got in an incredible rhythm in that first quarter with a lot of easy post-ups, easy catches. And then from that point, the basket looked just as big as it did for LeBron, and he was starting to knock down his long jumper and everything from there. So Typically, we don't like to double team once they catch. We like to be active. We do like to get our traps in other ways. Certainly, that's part of our identity, is to be aggressive and lay those traps at various regions of the court. But he was terrific that night. In terms of tonight, it's a different game, totally different style. It's tough to get two people to Howard with the spacing they have, the attacking they have, the pace that they play at. They do a great job offensively in terms of moving you around and keeping you spaced and keeping that paint open.
Coach, we've got a chance to watch your growth and development just as a coach and the team and you guys winning. And I just have two questions for you. One, the great Pat Riley, what was it like and what is it like to have such a trusted mentor, someone that believes in you in that office? And secondly, we've always heard you, kind of like a Pat Riley, talk about themes during the year. You always kind of teach to your team or talk to your team about things that seem to be outside of basketball but parallels life and does have things to do with basketball. We've heard you talk about patience or staying the course. What is your theme for this year as well to your team?
Well, the first one, obviously I feel incredibly fortunate being able to work for Coach Riley for going on 19 years. That's crazy, but I started out entry level. The story is well documented. Working for him early on was a miserable experience. I mean, he worked us into the ground. I loved it at that age, just soaking up as much as I possibly could. I always joke with him, but it's true. I think the first 2 or 3 years, he had no idea what my name was. I was just the guy that was in the dungeon putting together edits and picking up dry cleaning, picking up lunch, that type of thing. And it took a long time. It took several years before I even earned the trust for him, not only to know my name, but to actually start to get promoted and have more responsibility. But now sitting in this chair, our relationship now is growing in a much different way that I cherish. He not only is a mentor, but he's somebody that I actually look to a lot after practices, after games, tough situations, because quite frankly, not many people can relate to what it's like to coach a team like this with the expectations, the talent, all of it that is so well talked about. But he can't. He went through this in the 80s with the Lakers, and it's eerie how similar the teams are. So what was your second question?
My second question, well, what's your theme to your team? But how about let's change that because
that's right.
But I love, you talking about Coach Riley so much. So you mean if you win a championship, you're going to put on some sunglasses, slick your hair back, and guarantee another championship next year just like he did in the 80s?
Yeah, Webb, I would have already done that. He did that after the first year. See, when we're trying to do something this year is something that he's never done. He trademarked it. And so that's something we'd love to do, to be able to talk to him about giving up that trademark for the three-peat. But in terms of the theme, certainly probably a lot of Coach Riley's motivational tactics have rubbed off on me as a coach and a leader. I can't be him, and I can't try to be him. So in terms of speech giving and that type of personality, that's not necessarily who I am. But in terms of giving a message, I do think that's important for a team, and not just to talk about the X's and O's and the schemes and the specifics of that game. It has to be a little bit more bigger picture, particularly with this group in this locker room. This year, there's not a definitive theme, but one of the things that we've talked about since the first day of training camp is reinventing. Reinventing ourselves and being different, being better, not just staying the same of who we were last year. That won't be good enough. The competition has gotten better. But also because we have a veteran team, that guys have to think a little bit differently. And how can they reinvent themselves to get better? And you see it with our best players. Dwayne's a perfect example. He's a far different player now at 31 years old, 32 years old than he was when he was 22 years old, where he was just attacking and with reckless abandon at the top of the key.
Two real quickies to end on here, Coach. Speaking of D. Wade, will he play tonight?
Yes, he will.
And number two, who picks up your dry cleaning?
He doesn't know his name.
No, I take my dry cleaning service.
So there's not a
on the way
coach,
home.
there's not a future NBA coach who's saying, man, I got to pick up Spo's dry cleaning again today. That's not happening. Very good.
But in terms of working our guys, our staff into the ground,
there are
that's
a few.
still the same.
Erik Spoelstra, thanks a lot. Best of luck
All
the
right,
rest
guys.
of the way. All right.